Well, g'day, folks. How are you? Sorry for the break-in transmission for the last day or two, and I owe you a bit of a bit of an explanation. If you're in the chat, you will have seen that I posted something up in the chats that come through here on StreamYard. Maybe you're not in that, so you're worried or wondering. Thank you to everybody who sent emails and the blessings and the prayers. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So. What's happened is, for those of you who've been following us for a while, you know that my daughter's been going through a bit of a hard time for the last few years. She was in a relationship that was extremely violent, and that bloke did some damage to her, a lot of damage to her. We thought we were pretty much over it, but turns out there is a court case that's coming up. He's decided to plead not guilty and to a range of things, I think, and we both have to be involved with that. So that news came as a bit of a shock, considering that the court case is next week. And we found out about it not long before we went to air, night before last. So Laura understandably had a bit of a conniption. I think we're getting her back on track. So just got to toughen her up a bit. And next week probably be another hit and missed week, particularly around one day. But hopefully we'll have this bit of business over and done with in our life finally. That's my hope. So sorry for screwing you around, especially at such an interesting time, because as we all know, there is so much going on. Many of you are writing limericks, and can I just tell you, let me bring one up here, because I am blown away by the level of creativity from Bruce and Peter, who are down in Victoria, part of the My Place community in Maryborough, or Maryborough. Got to remember how to say it in Victoria. And hello to any old cousins, uncles, friends of friends, relations in Denali, lovely part of the world down that way. So just to give you an idea, in our Limerick competition, where you've got the opportunity to pick yourself up a bar of silver, 10-ounce bar of silver, thanks to Ainsley Bullion, and the runners-up, 3 runners-up prizes of a 1-ounce silver coin, thanks to Cass and the team at Freedom Financial Solutions. Now, I did say I'd find it pretty difficult for anybody to come to terms with putting everything into one limerick, but there are a few people who have attempted it and done, if I say so myself, extremely good jobs. So this came into my email from Bruce, and yes, Bruce, I will make sure it goes into the competition for you. We can check your membership. That's okay. So let me just read you Bruce's attempt. I like to go prospecting mainly and sell all my nuggets to Ainsley. From Freedom Financial Solutions to all this government pollution is to watch Carl on Voice of Freedom daily. I got to say, pretty impressive job. I'll try and do it justice one more time. I like to go prospecting mainly and sell all my nuggets to Ainsley. My Freedom Financial Solution to all this government pollution is to watch Carl on Voice of Freedom daily. Got to say, Bruce, pretty bloody outstanding effort to be able to get all 3 into one. And there are others, so I will try and dig a few of those out. Please don't think I'm playing favourites. It's just that Bruce has turned up in my email, and I just saw it just before we went to air, and I thought, I like that a lot. So I've passed it along to Vince. We'll make sure you go into that. So thank you, Narelle. It is tough getting over domestic violence. I wasn't the one that suffered it. Laura, on the other hand, she suffered a great deal, and I'm not even sure that I know all of it. So, but this is an important step, I think, for anybody who has been through domestic violence. You can hide from this. You can not press charges. You can run away. You can fear, or you can step up. And it's taken some time and a little bit of urging, but this is something that's pretty much come from her own self, her own inner strength. She wanted to do this. So I think that's a great thing. Maybe not enough people do it. Every situation is different. My daughter was, I don't know what I can say, actually. I probably shouldn't say anything because the bastard might get out. So I'll wait until afterwards. But I will tell you eventually some of the things that at least I'm aware of if you want to hear them. But they're not nice. Not nice at all. So I see, on a happier note, I see Camillo is in the room, but I did see a message there that Camillo wasn't feeling terribly well tonight. So he is such a friend of the Voice of Freedom, folks. He comes from the Sunshine Coast, wonderful human being that he is, and has helped me out on more than one occasion. So tonight, I was going to wait until I was seeing you in person to give you a gift that I have bought for you. So, folks, I just want to give you a quick photo of Cam. He's not feeling well tonight, so there you go. Now, he's probably not looking his best. However, I do have a little present for him, and we just need to make a couple of small changes, one predominantly at the front. But you'll get the idea, Cam. I've got you a little hat, and if it really comes down to it, I have the mustache to go with it, but I think we've got to just put Voice of Freedom up here for you. I'm not saying, just, just reckon it might work. Wish I had a better way of superimposing that, but there you go. I'll take that off now. Hope you're laughing, mate. Don't mean to upset you. Where's Jono Wilson? Well, Jono, as far as I know, is sitting on the boat. I did speak to him day before yesterday, and I spent a bit of time with him on Sunday. He is all over the log of claims. Have you had a look at the log of claims? If you haven't, you can go to the Voice of Freedom website, vofhq.com. And it was there on the front page for a while. I think it's now moved down. But you might be able to find it. Let me just go to the front page and have a look. I'm pretty confident there is a tab along the front page there somewhere that will say log of claims. If you click on that, you'll be able to find the PDF and have a look at it. No, there is no tab. So let me just have a scroll down under the members contest. Look, it was there. It was there. I know it was there. I will find it. Vince will tell us if he's actually in the chat. He'll tell me where it's been put. So it is on the website, log of claims, and have a look at it. We're very keen to get your input on it. Send us an email back, either to John or to myself, and or both, preferably. Let us know what you think about that. So we'll endeavour to push that forward, provided we get your support. It's all about the people. So if you can go and have a look, download it, show your friends, have a bit of a chat about it. If there is anything that you don't like about it, anything you feel was missed, anything you feel should be added, then please let us know. This is a consultative process, so we can't change or add things if we don't know what they are. John has put a lot of time and effort into this. He has considered not just what he's written, but how it's been written. And it has been put together with a view for you, the people, to cast a glance, offer some measure of support. Doesn't mean this is sort of not a constitution or anything like that, but it will give the freedom movement, the people like me and others in it, a direction we can all follow. This is the roadmap forward. If we can all agree to something like the log of claims, or at least in principle we agree to the log of claims going forward, and if we can't, if there are people amongst us, if Bozy or Guru or Simeon or any of the others come up with a reason why we shouldn't be having this log of claims or what should be different, then please let us know. Because then we can bring everyone together. We can unify everything and push forward. So that's my hope. At any rate, that's the goal from my perspective. At any rate, under downloads, we'll find it. Thank you, buddy. So let me have a look at the Voice of Freedom site. Vince is always right. Yes, downloads, and it says log of claims right there. So downloads is about the 3, 6, 7, 8th one across the top of the voiceoffreedom.com webpage. That's VoFHQ.com. Thank you, Vince. You are a legend. I'd like to tell you, folks, we've had a little bit of other stuff going on in the last couple of days. There is a little bit of admin support. God knows I need it. A little bit of admin support coming my way. A little bit initially in the next few weeks because there's other work involved and she's got to try and time in with that. But hopefully after the school holidays, we might get a little bit more of her time and a little bit more of her expertise, which will be wonderful for me. You guys might find that too, particularly if you're trying to contact me. Her name is Rachel, and you can email her at rachel@vofhq.com, but don't do it yet. She hasn't got her email address login code yet. So that's how new this is. So Rachel will be joining me and helping me behind the scenes, trying to organize my life, the universe, and everything. And she's ex-military, so I think she's pretty good at organizing things. God knows I need that sort of organization. Ain't that the truth? So big things happening in America the last couple of days. I'm just trying to move my mouse around so I can see what I've written here. John Durham has been at the Capitol. He has been in front of a closed session of the U.S. Judicial Committee, or the Oversight Committee, I think headed up by Jim Jordan, and he has been grilled for approximately 6 hours, I think, on the second day, which was yesterday, in open session in front of the Senate judicial hearing. Now, as you would expect, the Democrats are trying to discount, disflavor, disrupt, do all that bullshit. So they're telling all sorts of crap. However, Matt Gaetz did come out, Republican from Florida, did come out and was not gentle on Durham at all. He outlaid the facts as some of the Democrats had previously done. Durham's investigation has run 4 years. 4 years. 460 plus interviews of people resulted in 7 search warrants being issued, 3 people being charged, and 2 of those getting off scot-free. They won in the courts, and the only conviction that they gained was one person who pled guilty to a very small misdemeanor charge, never served any jail time whatsoever. It cost $6 million for 4 years of investigation to come out with 7 search warrants, 3 people charged, 2 of them get off, 1 of them gets no jail time and a slap on the wrist with a misdemeanor charge. When you put it like that, you're probably wondering, hey, who's he working for? Who's he hiding stuff for? Where is all the evidence? As if you have read the Durham report, you will see the evidence is laid out clear that the head of the FBI, or the top end of the FBI, was rotten to the core, including McCabe, Comey, Strzok, and others. Now, there was a lot of information that was deliberately kept from investigating officers by the higher-ups. That is plainly evident in the evidence that Durham outlines in his report. Why isn't Comey charged? Why isn't a plethora of FBI people charged? Why hasn't there been more done on the Australian side of things? Well, I think if you really think about life, the universe, and everything, and you watch the way that Durham replies to those questions, he says that they've done their job to the best of their capabilities within the parameters that they are allowed. Now, the little charges and little things that they've got there don't amount to anything. This report, this Durham report, is just to show how rotten the intelligence agencies are, or at least were, from 2016 going forward. Now, they are rotten to the core. It is plainly obvious, and the evidence stands to support that. not just the FBI, but the CIA, the DIA, which is another interesting one, and sadly, the DOJ, all corrupt to the bloody core. Well, particularly in the top echelons. I'm not suggesting that everybody in those organizations is rooted in corruption. Certainly, there are good people who were lied to by their bosses, good people who asked questions and were not told the truth or obfuscated the truth so that by their bosses, so that investigations would go away. In fact, one female FBI agent who was querying with some vehemence the legality of what was going on down at Mar-a-Lago and that raid wound up being moved completely out of the system and put on something else totally. So they shut her down. Yeah. So, yeah. Not real flash. But Durham, on the other hand, seems to have this half grin, half smirk, half, well, we just do what we do and we do it to the best of our capabilities and we do it within the terms of reference that we were given. And Matt Gaetz says, oh, but you had, your terms of reference were to find out about the Mueller report. Well, yeah, that's all well and good. What Durham, if you listen to him right from the very start, when he gave his opening remarks and in one or two places throughout his testimony, he said, there are things I can talk about and there are things I can't talk about. And clearly that's why there was a closed session. Now, and there would be things in that closed session he wouldn't be able to talk about either. Things like, well, if he's not going to press charges against Comey and McCabe and others, who is? Or maybe the first question should be, what charges would you be pressing? And those charges are treason, because that's what's been committed. Now, Durham isn't enabled or empowered or enacted in any way to prosecute treason charges. But there is one organisation we've heard of that is. Thank you, Scott Smith. Love your work too, brother. Really appreciate the sticker. Thank you so much. There is one organisation that can do that, and that's a military tribunal organisation. Now, a military tribunal works under completely different rules. They do not work under any kind of legal system you think you know, whether you think you know the British system or the American system or the Australian system or anything else. Military tribunals are not like our courts. They are not fair to begin with. Those accused that stand before them do have to prove their innocence. They are there for a reason. In fact, they are there to stand for the crimes they have committed, and those crimes are brought before them, and in stark reality, with all the evidence, is shown to them. And from there, the presiding officers that sit on the board gauge the defendant's demeanour, whether or not they're, I suppose, looking guilty or not. Everything that the defendant does or thinks they have as a right in the public arena is stripped from them. They have no right like that. And in fact, if you read some of the reports that come out of the trials from Gitmo, there are many times where a senior representative is up in front of a military tribunal and arrives from the cells to discover that their lawyer isn't there to represent them. And they were told that such and such a lawyer was going to be coming from the Washington office, and it was imperative that that they were able to get in to represent. Where are they? Where are they? And the reply was, well, maybe they didn't come because they didn't get a retainer. We've frozen all of your assets, so all your bank accounts are frozen. You can't pay anybody anything. They're not going to turn up unless they can get paid. So bad luck. Nobody arrived. Here's the day of your trial. Let's be on with it. And that's what happened. and that was for a governor, a US state governor. So they don't muck about, and people might have some hard time with that, but military justice, military tribunals are the only way to go. And I think it's becoming clearer and clearer to people now. If you've been looking up the executive orders of Donald John Trump, the 45th president of the US, and I think I have posted those. Let me just have a bit of a look on Telegram here, and I think I've posted those. Yes. So if you want to go to the Telegram channel, the Voice of Freedom Telegram channel, give me 1 second, and I will get a link for you as soon as I figure out how. I will. What am I doing? There it is. Right. Copy. Beautiful. I would encourage you to go and have a look at those executive orders and the things that they pertain to. Just posted that up in the chat now. So those executive orders will make a lot more sense of the things you are seeing now on our roads and in our skies. We will talk very shortly with the man named Bob about things in our skies. But today, just here in Brisbane, a very large, I couldn't tell if it was Australian or American jet cruised over the suburb at around 1,000 feet. My guess is, because I'm around the bay, my guess is it was doing well, for them, a low fly past of the USS America, which is currently moored at Fisherman's Island. I believe it might be heading out tonight. And hasn't been open to the public. The USS America is a marine amphibious assault ship. It's what they call a true war maker. In fact, they carry just about everything required to run an entire war straight under the deck. So they've got F-35 fighters, they've got helicopters, they've got attack helicopters. They carry a lot of Marines. They carry a lot of marine vehicles, weaponry, including tanks, armored personnel carriers, all that sort of stuff. So they're a big ship. They look like an aircraft carrier, but they're different. So they can get into a bit shallower water and get a bit closer. For instance, they can get into the port of Brisbane, whereas if we're talking something like the USS George Washington, which sat off the Sunshine Coast for 18 weeks, just over the horizon, uninterrupted by anyone except those who happen to go fishing, and caught a glimpse of it. Not many people go near warships when they see them, though, because they get warned off. But that was there. That disappeared a couple of weeks ago. And I would say Operation Talisman Sabre is about to begin in central and north Queensland. So there is a lot of military hardware moving north at the moment. Now, that could just be the cover. We've known that exercise is an annual thing, and military from all over the world come to be part of that. This marine warship, the USS America, is here ostensibly for those exercises. And when she leaves Brisbane, she'll steam north and loiter about somewhere off the coast of central or northern Queensland, I imagine, for the next week or two, and probably wind up stopping in a few places as well. Keep an eye on it, folks. Might be stopping at a port near you. I know that they can also get into Townsville, so keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll see them popping into Townsville. And I know Townsville have already had a couple this year pop in. So interesting and fun times. What else do I have here to talk to you about? Oh, yeah, righto. So the Durham report. Don't take too much notice of the way he's being beaten up in the Senate there. He's a very smart man, John Durham, and he didn't give anything away. He can't tell the senators, he can't say openly that, well, these people have been charged. They are now standing in front of a military trial because he's clearly not allowed to express that publicly at the moment. But rest assured, I'm sure it will all clear up in the days and weeks ahead. And we look forward to a commencement of trials in Guam. Hasn't happened yet. We're still waiting on 2 Arleigh Burke class destroyers to get into town. There is a deep, dark, silent, mysterious man who hides in the wilds of Western Australia. Occasionally, he pops his head out of the sand and shouts strange things into the night. Some people call him the Sand Groper. We just call him Bob. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Cal. Good evening, everyone.
I made
Hope
that
you're all
up all
doing
by
well.
myself. Made that up all by myself on the spot.
Very good.
Why do you have
Lovely.
semi-naked women as your avatar tonight?
It's actually a semi-naked man with an angel on the back.
Oh
Because
wow! There you go.
God only knows. I'd probably have worn my guardian angel out, and she's probably down the local pub, probably trying to get drunk and
Stocking up.
trying to forget about it. Too many
Yeah,
sins.
yeah. Reinvigorating a bit of courage. I know how that works. Mate, good to have you back. It's been a little while, and I've had your fan club get in touch with me. They're definitely keen to find out more of Bob or hear more from Bob. So, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Bob. Things go, well, they don't go beep in the night. They don't do anything in the night except go. That's what I'm hearing in Western Australia. A lot of strange things floating around in the sky.
There certainly are. We're for those that either very early morning or late at night, take the time, sit outside, actually have a look up into the night sky, and look for like a shimmer. Look for stars that move and then pop back a few seconds later. Also, have a look for strange lights, because there's been quite a bit of movement around our skies, and some very, very weird energies around. Very weird. Many have kept me awake. Don't know why. And before anyone asks, no, it's not the green herbs out the back. But yeah, there has been some very, very strange energy in and around Perth, certainly in the last 3 weeks, most definitely. And I'm not the only one to have picked it up.
So, Crunch
although
is
you
saying
can't
here,
see it,
yeah, sorry.
yeah, I was going to say, although you can't see it, there's definitely something happening, and it's large. Let's put it that way.
Somebody has asked whether or not you're seeing many US aircraft floating around. I mean, we're seeing some pretty exotic things in our skies: V-22 Ospreys and Super Stallions. So, are you seeing any of that over your side of the country?
No. However, we have out to sea, because where I work, I'm right on the waterfront. We have actually heard out to sea some very low flying jet aircraft, and they are fast. So I'm picking they are a fighter of some description, but
Yep.
yeah, very loud, and very low, and yeah,
Yep.
can't see them, but they're loud, so that they wouldn't be something that would fly into a domestic airport. They'd be simply too loud.
Yeah, yeah. I had the same experience today. I think what I saw briefly fly over us at about 1,000 feet was one of the new refueling tankers. Now I don't know
Ooh.
whether it's American or Australian, because I guarantee the Americans will have the same ones. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that, and there. In relation to where I am, to where it is, to where the Brisbane airport is, it's a very large aircraft at a very low altitude in a very strange place. As it went out over Moreton Bay and out over South Stradbroke Island, I thought, well, it's going to climb, it's going to get out, but depending on what the pattern was at Brisbane Airport, it probably wouldn't climb. It would stay low for a little while or go out a lot further. But no, it definitely banked and was running back parallel along with the coast. And then I heard at least one other jet come past, and it was, like you say, military grade. You can pick them, can't you? It's, if you know what you're listening for, it's a whole different sound. So that could have been one. Well, they very rarely fly around singly. That would be a flight of two, either F-22s or F-35s. I would say coming up out of Williamtown. They would be ours, and that would be the fuel support. They could have been putting on a bit of a show as well, because the USS America is in town and flying a bit low over them, giving everybody a good look. God knows, if you're in Brisbane, you can't get near it at the moment. There are, tree-hugging bloody protesters on the road into the port for completely different reasons, but they've been stopping the road in there for the last 3 or 4 days, fortuitously. And where the thing is moored, it's right down the end of the port, so to speak. Behind secure areas, you're not going to be able to get in there with any great ease. And I guess if you've got a boat, you could go out the mouth and have a bit of a look, but they will have an exclusion zone around the thing as well. You will be able to get reasonably close, but I don't have a boat. So, and I don't think that the only old pirate's boat that I know, I don't think is up for the journey just yet. So we'll just have to wait and see what other pictures materialise of it. But folks, Bribie Island's the place to be if you're around Brisbane, or Redcliffe. Have a look there as she's heading out. You'll get a really good look at her. It would be very nice.
I was going to say, also bear in mind too, folks, that generally 1,500 to 2,000 feet or below, radar is not good, especially if you've got hills, and that is where the military aircraft will sit in order to evade radar. So these guys and girls, they're very, very highly trained with the computers and technology on board. They can actually literally fly damn near at the speed of sound down valleys and all sorts to evade radar. So the technology is certainly in their cockpits, and the skills of the pilots are there to do it, because that's what they're trained to do.
Yeah,
so just
right.
bear that one in mind.
Well, the thing I saw today, just seeing a few of the comments coming in, I think this thing was at or less than 1,000 feet. It was very low, and the only thing I've seen flying that low around here are helicopters heading out to the islands. So, interesting things there. Congratulations, Camillo. He's been elected the convener of the Sunshine Coast Common Law Assembly. Well done, mate. Many rounds of applause. Hang on a minute. I take my hat off to you. There you go. So, Bob, we've had a lot of UFO talk in the last week or two. We've had strange smeared-like shapes in the backyard of Las Vegas after strange green lights have dropped from the sky. Strange noises have been caught on doorbell cams, like impact of something hitting the ground at a fairly ferocious rate. Are we being invaded?
No.
All right.
I'm sort of thinking back with a lot of the classified stuff that I've seen. Some I can talk about because it's starting to come out. So I still can't. I will say there in Antarctica, and I'll come back to that. There are things down there.
Yeah.
But there are also elements and types that walk amongst us today where most people would have no idea that they could actually be walking side by side with an extraterrestrial.
So you're saying they walk among us.
They do. They do.
Right. Okay.
And have for centuries.
Right.
Now, what I'm going to say will probably resonate to many, many people. One of the ways you can pick up an extraterrestrial is certainly one of the beta element. Have
Right.
you ever walked into a room and you've locked eyes on someone and you have an absolute hate? And I mean, it's not a dislike. I mean, it's an absolute hate for someone.
Yes.
Right? And what it is, it's actually your aura mixing with theirs. And they see you as a food source, which is why you have the automatic trigger. It's not right. You clash. You really clash. The other way that you
at a base level.
At a base level, right?
Yeah.
But the way humanity has been designed and dulled down is you respect everyone. You have to ignore your feelings. Your body knows when something's not right, and so many people do not take notice of it. The other way that you can sense some species, not all, some species, is they smell like either rotten, dirty socks or burnt cinnamon, is the best way I can describe it. So what they do is they wear very thick, heavy perfume. When you walk in the room, you damn near choke on it, and it's to block the smell out. And I can almost guarantee you, somewhere in your life, you've seen people like that. In particular, women will do it because that's the way that they can hide themselves best, is with women's clothing and disguises. But they smell, and it's the smell that is very distinctive.
You're taking me back to an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He didn't use perfume to hide himself. He had some sort of fake head mask, but he arrived on Mars and was dressed as a woman. But
yes.
So what are these people doing living amongst us? And I can't call them people. Whatever I call them.
So some of them they deal with child trafficking, child pornography, sex trafficking, human trafficking, drugs. They they often will deal in areas that most humans that have a conscience will never ever want to go. Ever. All right, because they have no feeling. There's no empathy.
Yeah,
and
I've met plenty of those.
I mean, most real humans have empathy, and these people are as cold as ice, literally. And when you meet them, you'll understand. And yes, I have met, although straight away I didn't realize it, and it wasn't until sometime afterwards. And when I ended up reading some of the classified dossiers, then I actually realized who these people are and what they are and why they're there. Okay, because they love war.
How big are these dossiers that you're reading? Are they, pages long, or are they like chapters?
With some of these dossiers are several thousand pages, and it covers everything. As I said, the intelligence that's out there is extensive, but the average Joe Blow person there is so much hidden from you, and the psyops run by governments to dismiss UFOs as just and aliens and that sort of thing. It's I mean, if
Okay. So
if
let's use
I had to
a good
guess,
example. Let's use an example, something that's in people's recent memory.
right,
How about this recent submarine disaster over the Titanic?
right,
Don't you think that its timing, well, tragic, its timing is interesting? It's
mm-hmm.
taken the shine off the Durham report. It's given America mainstream media something else to go on about rather than John Durham being in front of the Judicial Committee at the Senate in both open
Absolutely,
and
yeah,
closed hearing.
mm-hmm.
The narrative of UFOs wasn't working so well. People were clearly not buying it, or at least not buying it to the extent that those pushing it would want them to. Uh, I'm not doubting for a moment there has been a tragedy, and I'm not suggesting anything different with this experimental submarine. I just find that it's a curious timing. We've
Mm-hmm.
been able to drag this out right over the period where Durham was being questioned, and there are other things happening as well. All this
Yes,
military movement, all this military movement. Unless you are outside, and I have a little bit of it that's still happening today. In fact, where is the bit I pulled up? I think this bit actually. I think that bit came from Derek Johnson, and he was traveling along somewhere toward California. There is some indications from him too that the wall, uh, the border wall from Texas at least to California has been finished. Now, if that's the case, the mainstream media aren't reporting it. And where the hell are these people still coming across it? But I guess that's a whole other story. So yeah, they do use distraction to spin the narrative, or watch this hand while we do something else. Watch the right hand while we do something else with the left. Is that a fair way of putting it?
yes, it certainly is. Because are you also aware that the CIA in the last 3 weeks also are now publicly admitting that there is a firmament around the Earth?
I haven't seen that publicly admitted anywhere.
If you actually go digging, you will actually find that they have declassified several scientific experiments on the firmament and with Antarctica.
Well, I was getting to Antarctica.
And
Stephen Greer.
if you go digging, you'll find it.
So
And
Stephen Greer had a
there's
big release the other day at the National Press Club about a week ago, a bit over a week
yep,
ago. He had a fellow who'd been in Antarctica in 2010, 2011, and was clearly a
mm-hmm,
electrical mechanic or something along those lines. Knew his shit and had access to everything on site. Was able to
mm-hmm,
tell when they were lying about certain things and not. He had a lot of interesting things to say about the interesting technology that they're employing down there.
yes,
Now, this talk about the firmament, he was talking about a green laser-like thing shooting up out of a
mm-hmm,
base or an installation right on the South Pole, or somewhere around that area.
yes,
He was
out of
referring to
like,
that. He was referring to that as a communications device for faster than light communications. Now, if the CIA are coming out and admitting there's a firmament, what do we need faster than light communications and a base in Antarctica for?
yeah, good point. Um, Also think of this, folks, where um, I'm pretty sure I revealed it on your show, but I've lived through the Christchurch earthquake.
Oh, wow.
And on the first one, when it hit, because it happened early morning, the first one, there was green aurora type lights up in the sky, just like you'd expect. Seeing the aurora up at the North Pole, or right down south.
Well, the aurora australis.
Yes, and and here you are seeing this 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, because I was driving a truck in the middle of the night, and suddenly, the sky's starting to glow. Never been reported, and if you ask many contemporaries who are in Christchurch for the first one, they'll tell you that. Now, funnily, on the morning of the second, the big one, which actually hit Christchurch, there was also discoloration in the sky prior. Now, I had always wondered, because when I was in the Air Force, I knew of them building this facility down there. And I always thought it was a HARP transmitter.
Yep.
Now, he's obviously, in the area a lot more than what I was. And I had this feeling in the back of my head that this is more than just a standard transmitter. So, more than definitely that this is actually a directed energy weapon. Use the firmament, you can bounce it virtually anywhere around the world. Governments can turn around and go, it wasn't us, nothing, it's, no one's there, no one's a bomb, anything like that, but they can destroy a city. So now you got to start asking yourself these questions. Haiti, with the multiple earthquakes around there, the multiple large earthquakes in other areas around the world, how many of these are actually natural events? Or how many of these are targeted to create issues with the economy, shatter the infrastructure to make an entire city collapse? It's food for thought. And then, with living through Christchurch, there is no way in hell, sure as my backside points to the ground, that was a natural event. No way. And, even the after effects, when you're walking down the road and suddenly you've got a geyser of stinky brown mud squirting up in and around you, that's energy being redistributed and around.
Yeah.
It's not. When I was also down with Antarctica in the Orion, right, the little spike that comes out the back of the tail, it's called a magnetometer. And essentially what it does, it measures with very, very high sensitivity changes in the magnetic surroundings of the Earth. So when you put in effect, a large steel object in water, it has a magnetic field around it. We can actually find that. Now, when you start putting large energy sources in, especially around a place that has none, that thing used to go off the charts. Now, why is that? So when you start flying around Lake Vostok, and that thing used to go right off the charts, you got to start asking yourself the question:
what's under Lake Vostok?
Something very, very powerful electronically or electrically there, or there's a huge anomaly. Now, governments and whatnot would turn around and go, it's an anomaly. No. Anomalies don't pulse. They don't have a constant repetition. So, just saying.
Daniel in the chat raises an interesting point. Liquefaction by frequency modulation?
Yes. Yes. If
Yeah.
you have a consistent wave, low enough and strong enough, yes,
Yeah.
you can most definitely propagate that, because underneath Christchurch is quite a lot of water, because you've got the
Yeah.
natural water table. Yeah, excite the water enough. Yeah, easily you could do that. And
Is that because the water table is relatively shallow at that part in
yes,
that part of New Zealand?
yes, and this is what happened with in and around the central city. Why so much was damaged, because when the earthquake hit, it actually subsided into a lot of places because the water was displaced. That's
Yeah.
why the old Lancaster Park, um, funnily enough, the old house that I used to live in, that was shattered, or the concrete pad, shattered into 6 pieces. 3 of your major walls were, folded in, and the roof on top for icing on the cake. And a lot of that old housing in and around the central city was exactly like it.
Judy has a question. She's been watching
Yeah?
erratic star movements in our skies since last year. Can Bob explain what it means, please?
Something's exceptionally large, right in front of you, and you're in effect seeing a mirror image.
Or a projection?
Yes,
Um,
or
yeah,
a
you're
projection.
seeing a
Um,
projection that shows the sky above the thing that's above you.
should be below. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's projecting it out of its bottom, so to speak, at you.
Mhm.
And that means that occasionally you'll see things move. In fact, my housemate and I stood out the back the other night looking at a very bright light I would have sworn was an aircraft coming into land, except it didn't move. And it wasn't a helicopter. Uh, it never moved. It was just a very bright, bright, bright star, we thought.
Mhm.
Planet eventually. But I've got all these different sorts of apps. I went and had a look, and no, couldn't figure out what the hell it was. But there was a very, very bright, 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 bright star to the sort of west northwest of Brisbane, and I don't know,
Mhm.
just yeah, really
Well,
weird. Total Recall. That's the name of the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's the
yes.
one. Discovered alien technology, heated thermal rods in the glaciers. That's right. And he had to put his hand in there, nanu nanu style, to start the whole thing. It started pumping oxygen into the atmosphere, from what I recall. God, who knew I knew so much about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, except their name? The Galactic Larry Can says it's swamp gas.
Yeah, well.
Oh
Yeah,
my good
I
man.
think they tried to dismiss Roswell as swamp gas. And
Yes.
yeah,
So
they
where do we stand with the Stephen Greer revelations about Roswell and aliens in our time? He named Pine Gap as Australia's alien base, or at least the place where we held our UFOs. You got anything to add on that?
yeah, I know of at least 4 species, or deceased, of course, but I know of 4 species that are in the labs, if you want to put it that way, in Pine Gap.
Yeah.
You've asked the Australian government, they very, very tight-lipped about anything that goes in or out of there. But
Oh,
yes,
they'd never admit that.
hell no,
That's pretty wild.
hell no. I mean, the for some of the, like, the more on what's in Pine Gap and that sort of thing, yeah, you should get Starseeds on for a show, just you and him, and I'm sure he'd come out with some pretty good info for you.
Oh, he
As I said,
comes out with all
I know
sorts of info.
a lot of the sort of the spooky stuff, but yeah, get a hold of him. He'll probably tell you a lot more about what has been disclosed and who's caged to rattle.
Well, I did see him
And
in the in the chat earlier, I put one of his comments up, and thanks, Chris, for popping in, mate. We love your comments. He put something up there that there is one of those big life arcs, world arcs, if you like, underneath Lake Vostok. It's been confirmed. My question is, who confirmed it? What level of confirmation do we have of that? Always keen to get the confirmation. So if it's confirmed, very keen. But I've heard that too, mate, and I believe it. Why wouldn't you?
Well, put it this way: when you've flown over with an aircraft, and there is an energy source down in there, that technically in Antarctica there should just be penguins, lots of ice, and nothing else. You should not have pulsating energy fields in and around that area. No way.
Right.
And
I've just got to address Bill's question here. He's trying to find videos on other platforms about how to detect if a person was jabbed without their knowledge. He had a naughty massage the other day and got a dead arm after. Wondered if she'd snuck one. I would have thought if you got the sore arm, you got jibbed on the massage, mate. That's all I'm saying.
Depends on what's been jabbed, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. If you're a user of those sorts of services, that's something you would need to take into consideration. I know plenty of people who are single, and it's actually a question that they actively bring up if they're going out on a date with their partner, and it influences their desire to continue or see them again. If you answer affirmatively, not because they think you're silly or stupid or whatever, a sheep, but it's just too much of a risk for them. And I guess you and I, not that you and I are getting too much action these days, Bob, but it would be a concern.
Yes. Yeah. Well, here in WA, and this has always got me scratching my head, where in the middle of the pandemic, you had to socially distance, you had to keep away and, sort of isolate from everyone. But you could go around to the knocking shop and go and get your leg over. That was absolutely fine. But as soon as you walk out the door, oh, no, you've got to socially distance. And I'm like, how the hell can that work? Yeah, we've got a lot of fly in, fly out people for, miners and that sort of thing in WA. But the virus doesn't stop at the front door while you go and administer your jab and come out and, and now as soon as you walk back out of the brothel, it's, you've now got to socially distance again. It just doesn't,
No.
That was probably one of the main things that got me going right from square one. Just that the whole lot was bullshit, or how you'd walk into certain places and you didn't need to isolate, but the minute you walk out the door, you got to isolate. Yeah.
I saw some great photos today of kids playing in a band. They were flautists. I don't know how you'd say.
Yeah.
They played flutes. And these kids were still in masks, but had a hole cut out over the nose and here, like a little square, so they could blow through it and get clean air into the flute. Just the stupidity and the fact that the people fell for it. They embraced it. Now look back, I see that 1st of July is the end date for Victoria Police having to be jabbed to serve. So no longer will recruits need to be jabbed to apply to join the Victoria Police. And I wonder whether or not those police who lost their jobs because they refused to be jabbed will be offered their positions back with pay. because of the huge knowledge drain that's happened inside Victoria Police with the brainless drain Dan Andrews running the state. The good people have left the Victoria Police for a variety of reasons. There's nobody good left in there, I'm led to believe. There's a lot of wannabes who think they are, and until they actually understand the true depth of the evil that they're working with, I don't think they're much use to us. So best we stay out, maybe form up a group with the ones who saw what was in there, what they were working with, and there are army or certainly defence veterans and police who are in those groups at the moment of a like mind, just champing at the bit to get the opportunity to go back and arrest some of those folks who committed such heinous crimes against us. So, and speaking of heinous crimes, your state tends to be leading the pack at the moment. So all sorts of weird laws coming in. Anybody coming into Western Australia now can be searched by police for no reason.
Yep, absolutely. And also the swearing-in ceremony for the new Premier, that if you were more than 2 or 3 people together on the street, then you were moved on by the West Australian Police. Now, how the hell does that work? Because suddenly you could be a terrorist, or you could be, a distraction. I mean, some of the stuff coming out now, it's incredible. It's absolute bollocks, as far as I'm concerned.
What's your opposition doing? I mean, are they even trying to oppose this, or
do you want to be banned on YouTube and that sort of thing?
Yeah, right.
I would like to really say what I feel, but you'll probably get banned for that kind of language. The opposition is about as weak as a wet bus ticket. They really are.
Yeah, true.
A lot of these changes there, you get 1, maybe 2 might stand up, give a little speech to sort of say, oh, yeah, I oppose it, and they just go and do it anyway. It's hopeless, absolutely hopeless. I'm waiting for the day that the lot are rounded up and given a one-way ticket to
frog march out the front to a military vehicle, never to be seen again.
Absolutely, because that's all they deserve.
Well, they do deserve a military tribunal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't see them go straight to the guillotine or the shooting gallery or the hangman's noose without the trial. But that's a nice thing about these military tribunals. They don't last very long, and they're pretty succinct.
Generally, yeah.
yeah. Not a lot of room to appeal. It works out quite well in the end. Now, I saw somebody here mention compensation. They want their compensation. Now, who was that? Michelle. Well, you're 100% right. You know that the federal government have opened up a compensation area for people who have suffered some form of debilitation, let's say, after being coerced into the jab. Now, that has been open coming up 2 years. They are very, 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 very slow on dealing with these applications. So there's a gentleman who put his application in over 2 years ago. He is still waiting for some kind of determination, even though up until the coerced jab, he was a very fit and healthy fella. Now he's got myocarditis and a severe case of it, got it for the rest of his life. Thank you very much. Now, what they're hoping for is that they're going to drag this out till as many people die on that list as possible. And they'll believe that they are going to be clear of any compensation claims from the families. I would beg to differ. I would argue that there is a number of compensation claims that will come from the families due to the absolute bastardry that the government is doing at the moment, going slow on processing these really, really urgently needed, in many cases, payments to people who are suffering in just about every case, to one degree or more, a life-threatening condition after they obeyed the government directive. Now the government are dragging their feet on paying the people. But shit, we can give $785 million to Ukraine.
Absolutely.
I bet that money went that money went moved pretty quick. I bet they're not still begging for it in Ukraine. If they were, we'd have Zelensky every day moaning about it. The pompous little bastard, I don't know if you're aware, he tried to. He's asked for all of Australia's M101 tanks, our main battle tanks, all of them. We have 52. So he wants all of them to go over and fight the Russians. The Russians, God help us. You might have seen a bit of news. The Russian embassy has decided that it was going to move, and it was going to move to within a kilometre of Parliament House. Albo and his cronies decided, shit, we can't have an embassy within a kilometre of the Parliament. They might listen to us. So they banned it. Now, there's supposedly a Russian diplomat who is on the vacant block and squatting, refusing to get off. Turns out that he's not a Russian diplomat at all. He's a security guard there to look after the Russian building, the asset, the thing that they've got on site there. So it gives you an idea of some of the bullshit that Albo Squeezy and co are going to try and put up with. And I don't know if you've ever been to Canberra, but can I tell you that within spitting distance of the Prime Minister's office in Canberra is the Israeli embassy, the American embassy, pretty confident the British embassy's only across the road, quite a few others. Spain isn't too far away, but the one for me is, like Israel's practically next door to not just Parliament House, but next door to the Prime Ministerial residence, the Lodge, as well. So they're concerned about the Russians. Oh, those Russians!
If only they knew their a lot of their systems are probably already hacked, and they probably know more than the Australian government.
I would agree.
Just saying. Especially with programs like Pegasus and Echelon and those sort of things. And a few, some of them are legal, some of them not so legal programs that can be quite easily found on the internet. You'd be very surprised what you can get out of someone's computer or Wi-Fi link, or if you know what you're doing, you can hover over a sort of couple wires. You can get a lot of information out of that. Just saying. Not that I've done it.
Yeah.
Much.
You're a man of many skills, Bob.
That's it.
Michelle, I'm sorry to hear that you lost your job. You are one of many, but God love you for sticking to your guns, because that's what we all do. Those of us who've refused the jab and lost things out of it, whether it be permanent employment, part-time employment, friends, family, we've all lost something out of it. And at some point, we've got to start bringing our lives back to normal, and that means regaining control of our lives. And hopefully, with what's coming up in the near future, and I really do believe it's coming up in the near future, we'll be able to do that. Bob, do you have a feeling, a timeline in your heart when we might start seeing real confirmation that there is change happening?
There is real change happening now. I'm seeing lots of little movement, but some of my sources that I've got and some of the things I'm observing, there is something that will happen probably soon after 30th of this month.
Well,
It's just lots of little coincidences are starting to build a picture. And as I said, it's some of it are my sources, some of it is just looking at certain things. You know, a lot of stage shows cancelled, a lot of certain companies and that sort of thing. They're not having their major AGMs and that sort of thing where they normally would. And these are banks, these are government, affiliated, what do they call them? Non-governmental organizations, that sort of thing. They're stopping doing it. Why? And they would normally do it soon after the end of the financial year, so they can then project this is what we're intending to do for the next 12 months. They're not doing it. Why?
So can I offer up a potential reason why?
Possibly because they've had their assets seized and their leadership taken out.
Well, yes, I think that in part will be part of it. I reckon that there is a very interesting correlation between much of what we're seeing and something that's going to happen on July the 1st. And somebody wrote this. I haven't got the author, but it wasn't me. I copied this down a few days ago, and I want to read this to you, or we can go through it. You can have a bit of a look. It says, we have a reason to thank Albanese. On the 1st of July, 2023, let me bring this up on a... Oh, you've got it up there. Beg your pardon. On the 1st of July 2023, the National Anti-Corruption Act 2022 comes into force. Every Australian is now entitled to ask for and get a jury trial in every matter, civil or criminal, and it is to refuse in either a state or federal court. This is because in 1995, the cable or cabal principle was argued in the High Court and became common law. In 1996, the cable or cabal principle is that no state can make a law contradicting Section 79 of the Constitution, and no state can make a law discriminating against a subject of the King, and in any criminal matter, the Commonwealth standard must apply. No more majority verdicts whatsoever, all or nothing. That's interesting. Now, way back in 1914, the Crimes Act 1914 was enacted to ensure the honesty and integrity of the judicial power of the Commonwealth. That's because Section 79 of the Constitution mandates that the judges who will decide the guilt or innocence of the accused are drawn from the general public, who, like our elected judges in the Parliament of the Commonwealth, are charged with making the common law. If a court with a judge, and that's a singular judge, sits, it is unconstitutional. Mr. Magistrate can be accused of attempting to pervert the course of justice in respect of the judicial power of the Commonwealth. The course of justice in respect of the judicial power of the Commonwealth makes the common law made sacred in Section 80 of the Judiciary Act 1903. Corporations can and are sued for criminal deeds or criminal misdeeds. They cannot be imprisoned. To remedy this, a corporation, if convicted, must pay a pecuniary penalty. By Section 4B Crimes Act 1914, this is 5 times what they would be required to pay if an individual. A breach of Section 43 of the Crimes Act 1914, which a judge or magistrate sitting without a jury attracts 10 years imprisonment. 10 years imprisonment attracts a liquidated penalty of $165,000 at today's penalty unit rate of $275. That's by Section 4K of the Crimes Act. And the penalty accrues daily. Every member of the Parliament of the Commonwealth and senator is subject to a compulsory duty to report breaches to the National Anti-Corruption Commission. Starting in 1984, Bob Hawke and the Australian Labor Party repealed the Queen Victoria's Letters Patent 1900. That letters patent created one integrated judicial system. The Australian letters patent created by Bob Hawke and confirmed by Kevin Rudd made it possible for the Parliament of the Commonwealth to enact an unconstitutional Section 9 Australia Act in 1986, prohibiting courts with judges holding legislation unconstitutional. You hear what they did? So starting in 1984 with Bob Hawke and cleaned up by Crud, they made it illegal for courts with judges to hold legislation brought before them unconstitutional. So you couldn't win the case if you were trying to fight it on constitutional grounds. The National Anti-Corruption Commission will have power to declare these corrupt changes illegal. By Section 32, National Anti-Corruption Act 2022, any person may refer an issue to the Anti-Corruption Commission. Just the fact that the National Anti-Corruption Commission is there will be enough to see big improvement in our governments. That might well be the case. I'm still trying. I haven't tried very hard, admittedly, because the last couple of days have had their challenges of their own here. But I would like to find out who sits on the National Anti-Corruption Commission. I think it will be quite telling to find out what names are on there. Now, Bob, another Western Australian bloke's making the news here recently, Twiggy Forrest. He's giving money hand over fist. He started a $500 million. He started a $500 million, well, not for profit, I guess, which apparently is growing hands over fist. He's got all his rich mates involved in that. I believe that he's now offered something in the vicinity of $500 million to rebuild Ukraine, provided that they go cashless. There was another stipulation as well, but there were two stipulations, but one of them was the country goes cashless, and he would transfer the money.
Be very, very careful with that, fella. A lot of these huge numbers that they put into these non-government organizations, they would get that money back somewhere. The way they work it, Bill Gates is another one, where he donates huge amounts of money to philanthropy and that sort of thing. But those businesses that he gives the money to, that money actually comes back to him via different companies and that sort of thing. So on paper, it looks like he's a really swell guy. He's spending, huge amounts of money, but the money's actually going back into his pocket, and it's all it all looks good. Let's put it that way. And all he's doing is enabling the likes of the United Nations and their stooges more and more. And this is exactly what Twiggy is doing. So I guarantee you, go and see where that money goes and look who those businesses are. And then somewhere along the line, have a look at the other businesses that Twiggy owns. The money will come straight back in the back door.
Yeah. Although it will get clipped on the way past by a number of our politicians who had to approve or disapprove on the way past. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, they are notoriously
good. And then he has, and then he's got them in his pocket for when he wants a political, a political move made, or new legislation or something that needs to be pushed through, and away it goes. So seriously, folks, the corruption in many of these governments, it goes right to the grassroots and beyond. It is disgusting.
Narelle brings up Antarctica. You've been lucky enough to actually be down there. I know there's a lot about it that you can't tell us, but for those that maybe haven't seen the videos, you have seen the statues on the shorelines, and
Yes.
the ancient
There,
statues and other things.
there's statues there. There's pyramids there. There are old columns, ruins. You can see blocks and that sort of stuff where they've just been almost like there's been a massive explosion, and like we're talking 2, 3, 4 ton blocks minimum, and they're just scattered as if they're like a house of cards, just scattered. Yeah, I would really love to have the opportunity to go down on foot and walk through these ruins and see exactly what is there.
Be amazing to be able to do that.
What I saw was from the air, and there was a shitload of artifacts there, and it will turn history on its ear when that gets put out, because history as we know it, how the hell are they going to explain Egyptian ruins in Antarctica? It's meant to be an ice, a place with penguins and ice, and here you've got full civilization that was living there. Explain that one.
And apparently somewhere down there, there's going to be a gay colony of penguins all looking after fake eggs.
Well, that's right.
Because, if it happened at Sydney Aquarium, it can happen anywhere. Bob. So I'm with you. Antarctica is the holder of many secrets. Is it going to be one of the triggers for us? If so, how would they, do you think, say, well, listen, by the way, down in Antarctica there has been, or are we just likely to see some vision on telly that we don't trust, because CGI works really well on television, some mothership appearing out of Lake Vostok?
Excuse me.
Bless your cotton socks.
What I reckon will probably come out first. What you see on the surface of Antarctica, there's only about 2% of what's actually there.
Yeah,
there are huge underground facilities. I reckon they will probably get disclosed first, and then from there, they'll have to reveal what else is there, and that is when the arcs and that sort of thing that are under Lake Vostok will have to be exposed. Certainly turning around and saying, oh, hey, look, by the way, there's aliens here, they've been here for centuries. I think that would probably flip most people right there. And
back in the 50s, Bob, there was a video taken of an explorer who flew into the interior of Antarctica and was amazed to discover lakes with warm water in them, not frozen lakes, but not steaming hot warm water, 24 degrees, 28 degrees sort of water, enough to keep the snow.
That's Lake Vostok, 27 degrees.
Yeah. Have you seen others around there? How big is that area are we talking about?
It's huge. The lake is huge. In an actual distance, probably a good 10, 15 kilometers wide.
Yeah, right.
And then you've got surrounding bushland and that sort of thing, because it's warm. You've got greenery all around the shore
on the mountain.
And then as the heat, or as you come away from the heat, then everything is turning to ice and frozen again. But yes,
you never saw any life on the ice outside. You never saw any life on the ice outside penguins?
No, it's at Antarctica. Bear in mind, we would only ever go down in the summer months, for the simple fact that it's the storms and stuff that come in the winter months. they're too severe to even think about flying, trying to land, that sort of thing. In the winter months, if we were to fly down there doing not search and rescue, but the maritime surveillance, we are generally very high, and we would only ever go down on nicer days. We actually had to really look at the weather and what it's doing down there, because it can be
Right.
very unpredictable. It wasn't uncommon for us to actually turn around halfway because the weather further down in Antarctica had actually become too inclement. So we'd just turn around and come back.
Right. Yeah, right. Disappointing day at the job there. All right, mate.
Went to the pub early.
Yeah, true. All right, I appreciate you giving us an hour and a half of your time on a Friday night. I really look forward to catching up again. I will get Starseed in for a bit of a natter, see what he can tell us about Pine Gap. I know that he's a wealth of information on all of that. Pine Gap is a bit deeper than was initially expected, and in fact, it goes to a depth we're led to believe where humans cannot exist. So Chris will have a bit of news on that too. I'll get a hold of him and we'll see when we might be able to get him on one day next week with a bit of luck. So Bob, thank you for coming on and joining me.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, wish everyone a good weekend, and hopefully not too many sore heads tomorrow and Sunday morning.
I trust you've been out and got all the money out of the bank. It's in your wallet now as cash.
Well, put it this way, if the bank's closed my account, they're not going to get much.
You and me both, brother.
So, yeah.
You and me both. All right. Talk to you soon.
Will do. Thanks very much, everyone.
All the way from WA. That's our man, Bob. And boy, what an interesting life Bob has led. He's obviously a Kiwi from birth, and that's where he did his military service, but was in the Kiwi Air Force and has spent a lot of time flying around some very interesting places in charge of a lot of very, very, very interesting equipment, which he can't tell us about because he'd have to kill us with his little finger or something. That's the brief story of Bob. Thanks to everybody who's been involved in the chat tonight, and thank you for your prayers for Laura. I really appreciate that. And to everybody who threw in a sticker tonight. There's a couple that I haven't mentioned. Ellen, thank you very much. And Sunflower, thank you very much for your stickers. Misha, as always, God love you. Thank you very much for your help. And yeah, take Misha's advice, folks. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Come and join Nun2K, Nunn, the number 2, the letter K, over on YouTube. Or if you'd like to go and find us at Rumble, then Voice of Freedom on Rumble will be the easiest way to find us there. Just going to have a quick look again, see if there's any questions that I starred and missed. Springtree, should purebloods be taking anything to counteract the effects of shedding as well as the mRNA floods? Yeah, look, I have heard that ivermectin is something you should take on a pretty regular basis if you can get a hold of it. It's very good for parasites, and a lot of that is exactly what we've got. Cam is absolutely right. Military courts are the highest court in the world under martial law, and the world apparently is under martial law at the moment, what you might call a loose martial law. Governments are under control, the people not so much. The governments are being told what to do. That's the version of martial law, at least that I hear, is currently being enacted. And let's face it, the governments are doing some strange things. Speaking of strange things, did you see the news today? I don't think it'll happen, but Elon Musk and Zuckerberg going head-to-head in an octagon fight in Vegas. That would be one I would nearly pay nothing to see, because I'll see it later for free. But how interesting that would be. Zuckerberg Zuck's been working hard on jiu-jitsu from memory. I think he's been winning the odd competition for his grade or his belt. On the other hand, Elon Musk is a bit over 6 foot. In fact, I want to say he's 6'4" or 5, and grew up the pretty harsh streets of South Africa, where if you didn't learn how to fight, then you learned how to bleed. I don't think he did a lot of bleeding, just between you, me, and the gatepost. So thank you, Elsa, for your sticker as well. So yeah, that's where we're at in life, in terms of life, the universe, and everything tonight. Thank you very much, folks, for your support and for the stickers. We do still have a few days left for you to get into the Limerick competition. And as I read out the one earlier from Bruce, you too can do it. Just go to our website, vofhq.com, if you are a member. Follow the login instructions to your membership, leave us your Limerick, and we will be drawing out a winner in, the first week is the aim, but it might nearly be the second week of July, because Cass Smith might be up in Queensland. We might be able to get all of us together at Ainsley Bullion to draw that. So looking forward to seeing your creative efforts at vofhq.com in our Limerick competition. A 10-ounce silver bar, thanks to Ainsley Bullion, or a 1-ounce silver coin consolation prize, or runner-up prize, so to speak, thanks to Cass and the team at Freedom Financial Solutions. God love them, wonderful folks that they are. If you need help with super, if you want to get a self-managed super fund, get your superannuation out of big super, out and away from the banks where it's likely to not give you the return you're hoping for, then Cass and her team can certainly help with that. You can email me, Carl, at vofhq.com, and I will forward that on to Cass, and one of her team members will shoot you out a questionnaire that you need to fill out. Once you've done that, the ball gets rolling. It's pretty simple. So if you want to get your super turned into gold or silver, that's the way to do it. Email me, I'll push it through to Cass, and they will get in touch with you. Pretty simple. Have a great weekend, folks. I've got to go and do a little bit of driving this weekend, hopefully calm the kid down a bit. And next week, certainly be around Monday, not sure Tuesday, Wednesday at this stage. It could be a little weird. We'll just see what happens. We'll have to play it by ear. But thank you for your indulgence and your understanding. If you are out on the roads, then you know what I say about the dickheads. Stay the hell away from them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!